Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox with Ace Politics, and I have to bring you some unsurprising but breaking news about Black Lives Matter. In the summer of 2020, we were told that there was a disease more deadly and more pressing than the coronavirus. The threat from this disease was so urgent that global leaders decided it was okay for us to leave our homes and get within 6 feet of each other so that we could protest it, and that disease was systemic racism.
True, there is social distancing issues. However, this is a public health crisis they are marching against. Systemic racism has taken so many lives in this country throughout our history.
In the wake of it all, a newer organization called Black Lives Matter raised a jaw-dropping $90 million. The group billed itself as the preeminent civil rights organization movement in the country and said that this was a new way to organize funds and ensure that there was a real game plan for combating systemic racism and getting real policy change. But it turns out that whole urgency that they insisted was there during the protests of 2020 was not felt throughout the organization once it came to allocating those $90 million that it raised. The organization has been embroiled in controversy for some time, but a new report from the New York Post shows that Black Lives Matter actually might have been even worse than we thought. It turns out they donated only 33% of the $90 million that they raised. Where did the rest of the money go? We really don't know. $4.5 million of the money that it actually did hand out was donated to friends, family members, and supporters from within the company. If that's not fraud, I don't know what is. And yet, there have been no charges filed over any of this. Now, I can't say I'm totally surprised over any of this because it tends to be what commie Marxists do once they get in power. They convince you to hand them a whole lot of money, they use it to enrich themselves, and they leave the little plebes to starve to death. But Black Lives Matter not only kept to the stereotype when it comes to communists, they actually set criminal justice reform back, I'd say at least a decade or two. Up until they hit the scene with their idiotic slogans like defund the police,
abolish the police, defund, disarm, abolish the police, defund.
We were making headway on criminal justice reform across the states and even at the federal level. This was a bipartisan, common sense issue, and Republicans had actually been leading on it for over a decade at that point. We still desperately need to address the problems within our criminal justice system. We have thousands of people who are in jail who shouldn't be. We are wasting countless taxpayer dollars locking people up over things that should never have been criminalized in the first place, and there is still mass corruption within our system. But unfortunately, as is so often the case, a movement can be completely derailed by having inefficient messengers, and that is certainly what Black Lives Matter ended up being.